Hello, DeSoto. This is Mayor Rick Walker with your Mayor's Minutes, a quick recap from the May 7th City Council meeting. We had a full evening with several important infrastructure, public safety, and community planning discussions, along with several residents speaking during call to public regarding data centers in general and the Beale project specifically. And I want to begin there for just a moment. We heard concerns and opinions from residents regarding data centers, noise, water use, growth, and overall community impacts. These are important discussions, and I appreciate the fact that people took the time to participate in the process and share their thoughts respectfully. I also want to remind everyone that reasonable people can certainly have differing opinions on projects like this. It is important that discussions be grounded in actual development agreements, engineering information, and the public record. One key factor relative to the Beale project is that while aspects of the project design may evolve over time, the obligations and protections contained within the approved development agreement do not simply disappear. Requirements related to infrastructure, landscaping, noise standards, community benefits, utility responsibilities, and other conditions remain in full force, regardless of changes in technology or the building configuration. We also are hearing continued discussion regarding the cooling system and water demand, and I think that's a good thing that they are coming up with a design that uses less water. Based on public information provided by the developer, this movement toward an air-cooled system appears to significantly reduce the long-term water use for the campus. And as a result, that has increased the building footprint, but it does not eliminate the project's obligations or community commitments contained within the development agreement. I also think it's important to remember that these projects have gone through a public process over the past year involving the Planning Commission, City Council meetings, public hearings, discussion in open session, and that most of the policy framework and approval structure for this project is already in place as it moves toward construction and permitting. Next, let's move on to the rest of the meeting agenda. We received an update from the County Sheriff's Office for the first quarter of 2026, which provided an overview of law enforcement activity and trends in the community. Overall, traffic enforcement activity was increased compared to the same period last year, while dispatched calls and non-traffic initiated calls declined slightly. The council also approved the 2026 Sidewalk and Curb Replacement Program. This annual program is focusing on replacing deteriorated sidewalks and curbs throughout the city to improve pedestrian safety, accessibility, and stormwater management. McEnany Construction was awarded the contract for an amount of approximately $160,000. Another important item was the approval of an agreement with IBTS for the third-party building plan review and inspection services related to Mount Sunflower Data Center project. IBTS has been providing these services for the Panasonic project and has significant experience with large-scale industrial projects similar to this data center. Importantly, these costs are fully reimbursed by the developer and not paid by DeSoto taxpayers. We also discussed potential projects for the 2027 Community Development Block Grant Program. One of the exciting changes this year is that the maximum grant amount has increased to $200,000, creating opportunities for additional sidewalk, pedestrian, and water infrastructure improvements in eligible areas of our community. The council approved support for a KDOT Transportation Alternatives grant application for the next phase of the Sunflower Road Shared Use Path project. If awarded, this grant would help complete this segment of our trail system connecting 91st Street to 87th Street along Sunflower Road. This project would be funded by 20% local funds and 80% outside funding. We also approved an engineering agreement tied to the 89th Street Culvert replacement project on the east side of Kill Creek Road. And this is another example of partnership funding with Johnson County SMAC funds covering 50% of the project costs and the developer covering the remaining 50%. One of the more exciting presentations from the evening was the Phase 1 Community Center Master Plan Update. This study has included extensive public engagement thus far and has had more than 400 survey responses, focus group meetings, stakeholder meetings, and community outreach activities. Residents consistently identified priorities such as walking tracks, fitness space, gym space, and some level of aquatics, while also emphasizing affordability and maintaining the unique DeSoto character. And it's important to note that it's economic development projects like the data center or Panasonic that would allow a project like this to go forward. Finally, the council considered the first procedural step related to a potential easement acquisition for the Limestone Sanitary Sewer Project. The majority of these easements have been voluntarily secured, but this action will allow the legal process to continue if necessary for the remaining properties, with costs borne by the developer under the development agreement. As always, I appreciate everyone who stays engaged, attends meetings, watches online, or simply takes time to stay informed about what's happening in our community. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you around town.